everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer today. Happy Sunday, everybody. I hope your weekend has been going well. We are going to be doing the astro weather, and this is going to be for the week of December 17th through the 24th, 2023. If you guys like my content and you want to see more of it, make sure you click the bell button below so you're alerted as to when I have new videos coming out on the channel. We're here every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, bringing you astrological forecasts with tarot and astrology to better understand what's going on in the cosmos. And we're doing live readings here on Friday evenings. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Remember, sharing is caring. And if you guys want to leave me a comment down below, let me know how you're feeling about these energies. I'd love to hear from you. I'm titling this video Through the Ashes. Because Pluto is returning to that pivotal 29 degrees this week, and we're going to be feeling the pressure to change. If you guys stay tuned to the end of this video, I'll be talking to you about how this is impacting each and every one of the 12 rising signs. Well, the themes for this week, we've got a lot going on. We are in the midst of a Mercury retrograde. I hope it's going smoothly for you guys. I feel like this one's actually pretty positive. I'm really digging some of the trines to Jupiter. It's helping us kind of find the faith. But we will see Mercury retrograde and return to the sign of Sagittarius. So we're going to kind of see that things are going to get a little confusing, a little larger than life. So you're going to want to take a look at where Capricorn is in your chart. While Mercury backtracks, we review, we revise things, and it will be switching signs and houses. So you have to look at now Sagittarius this week and go and figure out what you need to kind of tweak or make changes to. We're also going to see the sun enter into the sign of Capricorn. So here in the Northern Hemisphere, we will be celebrating the winter solstice. Very, very powerful energy. The solstice is kind of also packaged with a Mercury cazimi. So there's a lot to be thankful for, but also rethinking in terms of our long-term goals. I'll be doing another video on that this week because I feel like it's just so important, but we will touch on that today. And we will see the second of 3 Mercury-Jupiter trines. So we're going to get another one this week. It's giving us a second chance to have excellent communication as Mercury and Jupiter trine. So it's that sweet spot in the middle of a retrograde where actually there are some cosmic goodies for all of us. And then finally, Pluto returns to 29 degrees. So that's really what I want to talk to you guys about this week. I think that this is one of the more prominent energies, even though it's not limited to what's taking place in this week's astro weather. It's actually going to be from December 20th, 2023 until January 21st, 2024. But I think it's really important, especially considering the fact that, you know, Pluto is a planet that really impacts everybody. We will see Pluto then enter into Aquarius. So we're going to kind of see some of the same themes that we saw from spring of 2023. In 2024, Pluto will spend about 9 months in the sign of Aquarius, and it's a very different energy. But before we make that ingress, we are feeling the pressure cooker of something needing to change, transform. And then finally next year, actually in 2024, we will see Pluto return back to this degree very briefly from September 2nd through November 20th, 2024. So if we don't get it right this time, we're going to be dealing with it again this time next year. Pluto is obviously in astrology. It's the planet that's the furthest that we look at. It is the planet that represents death and rebirth, transformation, but also trauma, working through trauma. And it's in the sign of Capricorn, so it is in a cardinal earth sign. For my Scorpio and Scorpio risings, you guys might want to pay attention because this is very important as Pluto is your modern day ruler. And in astrology, when we see a 29 degree that is shaping up, this is seen as an anaretic degree. So it's known as the 29th degree. It's considered to be a critical degree, and it's very sensitive within the zodiac degree symbols. So when a planet such as Pluto hits this degree, in this particular sign, it's believed to have an increased amount of pressure. And so we look at that through the lens of Capricorn. So the term anaretic actually comes from the Greek word anareta, which means destroyer or bringing to a close. Makes sense, right? Because Pluto has been moving since 2008 from 0 now to 29 degrees of Capricorn. So when we see this ingress in the new year, it's going to go to 0 degrees of Aquarius, which will be moving into an air element. Very different energy. Essentially, maybe out in the world, we're dealing with this pressure to change and transform responsibility, governments, power structures, top-down structures. But in your own life, you're going to want to take a look at where Capricorn is, because we're wrapping up that area of your chart before we see this new change and transformation, which will be emerging in Aquarius. Now, when we have this 29 degree setup, there is a sense of urgency. Pluto can promote crisis. So 29 kind of adding on to that pressure does bring a little bit more of a significant need to complete something. And when planets are at this particular degree, there is a heightened sense of intensified influence. And it's basically seen as a call to address unresolved issues or make important decisions before moving into the next phase. So, astrologers, when we see this degree, either in a natal chart or in transits, we associate this with like a completion, a transition, the need to finalize or complete matters relating to the sign. Some view it as crisis, but others see it as an opportunity for growth and transformation. And obviously everybody, different astrologers are going to have different perspectives on this, but I will tell you this, 29 degrees in my mind, because it has that connection of psychic abilities, because it can be about being able to see that power structures are crumbling or that things are actually kind of peeling away, so something new can be reborn. I think of Capricorn, I think of Saturn, so I think of structure and ambition and authority and the material world. And then Pluto, obviously is going to be about regenerating something. Now, probably themes that you're going to be seeing out in the world and also in your life this particular month, but the transit is starting this week, is just going to be intense transformation. Because Pluto's presence at this degree brings that sense of urgency, but also it wants to kind of, like the phoenix, be reborn. So we're going to see a situation where something is going to get kind of broken down or dissolved or destroyed, and then something new is emerging. So it's making way for this new evolved phase in all of our lives to kind of be seen. And when we think about Capricorn, this is the top, right? The tip top, the MC. It's the mountain that the goat climbs. It's the heavy lifting, getting to that point. And then Aquarius is going to be looking down, right, from the top and being able to kind of celebrate some sense of like accomplishment or like wish fulfillment. So it's going to feel like we're kind of just dragging through the mud the next month. But on the other side of that is going to be some real significant change. And I think for many of us, it's about being able to really, move into achieving our dreams, right? Being able to kind of see these goals come to fruition. With 29 degrees, we also see that there's always endings and new beginnings. So it's associated with the completion of a cycle. Pluto's influence suggests that it might be particularly profound, and it's paving the way for new beginnings. So on a personal level or in a broader sense out in the world, we're going to see endings and beginnings. So it's kind of got like this, almost like an eclipse flavor almost, even though we're not in eclipses, but it has that kind of feeling. We also see major power dynamics come up when Pluto is at 29 degrees. So there is a sense of, power dynamics and control themes coming up. In Capricorn, it's related to issues of authority, government, and power structures out in the world within society. Now, the Aneretic degree can indicate a heightened focus on power struggles and the need for a significant shift in how power is wielded or distributed. So whether you're looking at this in terms of how it's affecting society or in your own life, you'll notice that the house that Pluto is in right now is kind of like saying like, okay, we need to take control over this thing, right? And we're going to be kind of grappling and going back and forth with that really for the next year. But it's likely that some of the changes that are happening here in Capricorn are to better kind of support what's actually going on in Aquarius. Now, there's always this sense of like reckoning with the past, because Capricorn is associated with tradition in the past. And Pluto at this degree, there may be a collective or an individual reckoning that's coming up right now, and a need to confront unresolved issues and push through and find opportunities to usher in transformative change. So once again, you know, Scorpio risings, you're going to be feeling this because Pluto rules your chart. Capricorn, sun, moon, and risings, especially if you've got anything like around 28, 29 degrees of Capricorn. The fixed signs, you guys don't get a pass on this either because it's cusping on that. So those of you guys who are Taurus and Leo and Scorpio and Aquarius, in the early degrees, like 0 to 1 degrees, you guys are feeling this as well. And then we'll see in the new year, as Pluto ingresses into Aquarius, we're going to see a whole stellium of planets go through Aquarius in February, and there's going to be this like bright new future that's being developed, but it's coming on the heels of certain things that are ending. So watch for that out in the world, watch for that in your life. And at the end of this week, I'll talk to you guys about how it's impacting each of the 12 rising signs. Let's go ahead and get into the astro weather. If you guys are watching this on Sunday, happy Sunday, and hi to all my Sunday crew. We wake up this morning and the moon is in Aquarius. So this is a social sign. It's bright. It's making some sextiles to the sun. It's an awesome time to be socializing and doing things this morning. We are now starting to see that finally we're coming out of the sun square Neptune. So maybe yesterday was a little confusing. Maybe this morning there's some hangovers. Maybe people are feeling still a little bit of like lower energy, but that's going to be clearing as we go throughout today. When we look at the moon in Aquarius, we're paying attention to what's going on with Uranus, and it's possible that you're starting to feel the rumbles of the Venus-Uranus opposition. You know, late last night, we saw that the moon was kind of in a T-square, so it's possible that Saturday night was a bit questionable in terms of getting along with other people, but it's going to be easing up as we go throughout today. The only really other big transit that we've got happening on Sunday is we will see an ingress of the moon. So in the afternoon hours, the moon's going to drop into Pisces, definitely a different energy. As we know, whenever the moon goes through the mutable signs, it's either squaring or coming into contact with Saturn in Pisces. So you guys are going to notice a definite mood change, especially later afternoon going into the evening, where that moon coming into contact with Saturn is sensitive, withdrawing, emotional, it is psychic, and it's really about paying attention to what our intuition is telling us, where we need more rest, where we need time to retreat. Sunday, you know, early evening is a time to get quiet, get comfortable, you know, find some time to meditate, rest, recuperate, and really pay attention to what our emotions are telling us. Because when the moon comes into contact with Saturn, there is some sense of tightening or feeling like restriction or a difficult time with emotional matters or expressing how we feel, dealing with family. And trying to kind of bring that sense of structure together in a sign that doesn't do very well with structure. So to get better prepared for the week ahead on Sunday night, it's really important to take time to sit, reflect, and kind of think about what you're hoping to get done this week. Movies, vision boarding, yoga, meditation, these are all great things to do on Sunday night. Or you can tap into the energy of just getting comfortable, having some alone time, catching up on your favorite Netflix, watching some movies. But I definitely would say try to refrain from the traditional kind of Pisces moon stuff. You know, because Saturn is there, there can be like a lower energy. I've noticed a lot of people are mentioning they're kind of having the blues. It's not just because of the seasons changing, it's because Saturn in Pisces creates this kind of gloomy state sometimes. So water, soaking, right? Cleansing, if not, we find that sometimes when the moon is in Pisces, there is this sense of oversleeping, overdrugging, overdrinking. We can be a lot more sensitive than usual. And it's so weird to have the moon go through Pisces, because first it hits Saturn where we know we should be doing our Saturn work. And then within 2 days it hits Neptune, and then we're like, oh, you know, like screw it. Everything goes out the window. Everything that we've been working hard to kind of achieve. I've noticed this every time Saturn, the moon goes into Pisces. When it's on Saturn, I'm like, okay, I'm doing these things. I've got it together. And then, you know, within 48 hours, it hits Neptune, and I'm just kind of like, I don't feel like doing that anymore, you know, or forget about that, or, you know, let's just kind of let that go. So what I've learned is that this is about finding the middle ground. It's about moderation. It reminds me a lot of the Temperance card. So, you know, anybody who's gone on a really strict like diet regimen, or if you've like really committed seriously to like a new routine, you know that if you just throw yourself into it suddenly and do too much at one time, it can be so much harder to maintain that that commitment, right? Or maintain that habit. So I'm learning that it can't be black or white with this transit. We have to actually do the emotional work to kind of get our emotions on track so they're receptive to actually making some of these changes. So there's a lot of having to check in with ourselves and our intuition with this transit. It's quite tricky, right? I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know. So that's really the big one. We're going to see the moon continue throughout Pisces tonight. So pay attention to your sleep routines, to dreams, to all that fun stuff. And then we're gonna wake up in the morning on the 18th. This is Monday. And this is the second Mercury-Jupiter transit, okay? So we've got a trine right here. And I'm loving this. You guys want to look back at what was going on December 8th, okay? Just not too long ago, about a week or so ago. And you want to think about what was going on then, because that was in the shadow of the Mercury retrograde. Mercury was trining Jupiter. Mercury in Capricorn, the Mercury retrograde in Capricorn is a lot of, you know, what are my goals and what can I do to become more productive, and how can I reassess my career or my relationship with my parents or my responsibility out in the world. There's always a goal behind Capricorn placements. So regardless of where it is in your chart, because it's a Saturn sign, a lot of it is about strategy, timing, planning, and like long-term goals. So when we see, you know, Mercury, which can be about documents, meetings, mail, communication, you know, travel, business meetings, in a trine to Jupiter, there's a lot of how can we expand in the future? How can we see more growth? Financial growth, emotional growth, how can we see more opportunities for travel, better business? Loving, loving, loving this day for meetings. So if you know that you have to have a team meeting, if you want to, you know, check in with a boss, if you want to go looking for a new job, this is a really good time to do it. Especially if you're talking about money matters. I know a lot of people with this retrograde are afraid to ask for a raise or are afraid to rock the boat because they know that already things might be a little tight financially out in the world. But let's say you have to negotiate something or, you know, come back and request a change to something financially or in regards to work. This is a really good time to do it. You will get one more opportunity. This is going to be in January. And what's interesting is when the first trine happened on the 8th, Mercury was direct, but Jupiter is retrograde, right? And Jupiter is about abundance and growth. So there was something that was yet to be revealed. It was kind of stunted. It wasn't ready yet. And then, you know, this time around, Mercury and Jupiter are both retrograde. So they're both trying to figure out what direction they're going in. But in January, when we see both of these planets direct and trine for the third time, they are both going to be very powerful. So I recommend using this trine as an opportunity to be able to work some of this stuff out so you can be like all, you know, green lights, moving ahead forward with these agreements or these decisions or even travel plans, business launches when both of these are direct in the new year. So we always get some good news or some kind of positive, you know, ideas or communications when we see Jupiter in harmony with Mercury. So that's a well welcomed, I think, message in the midst of what can be a really difficult time with some of these mutable squares. What I like about this on Monday is that the moon is also in Pisces. And so there is this sense of, because Saturn and the moon are close together and it's sextiling Mercury, we have to listen to our intuition. We have to reflect. We have to meditate. We have to visualize. This is so wonderful for people who are like, you know what, I want to, you know, go and create a vision board for 2024, or I want to create a collage of all the things that, you know, I'm wanting to manifest, or I want to kind of sketch out ideas for how I want an office to look, or, you know, for a new business plan. Anyway, listen to your intuition, reflect. That's going to help you better kind of make practical decisions. And then something else that we're going to be seeing is as the moon is going through Pisces, it's going to start coming into a square with Mars. So there is this sense of Mars in a fire sign wanting to go, 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 and the moon in Pisces, which is kind of wanting to turn inward and kind of think about things, and it's changeable. To me, this says like you can't rush the process, right? That's really what this is about. You can't rush the process. We need to really feel like emotionally and energetically we're on board with some of the directions of, you know, where we're going. So there can be the sense of feeling a little rushed, and I would say just be mindful of that, and be mindful that there can be some visibility issues. This makes me feel like there may be some weather events taking place that can be making it difficult for travel with some of those mutable squares. Outside of that, that's pretty much it. That's going to take us now to the 19th, which is going to be Tuesday. So what we're going to have on Tuesday is the moon coming into contact with Neptune. So it's like, this is that day where you're like, everything I've been working on, like, I don't know if I still want to do that anymore. Or, you know, I feel like I need to kind of hit snooze and kind of check out for a little bit. Little tricky because this is going to be the first quarter square that we've seen since the new moon in Sagittarius. So if you guys remember that new moon, it was jam-packed with, let's get going, let's do it, anything is possible, right? Lots of optimism. But then as the sun comes into a square with the moon and Neptune, there's the sense of being like, wait, am I going the right way? Like, can I do this? There can be a sense of losing momentum, losing power, feeling exhausted, and not really being able to see straight. So the 19th is a totally different direction. I feel like the only real way to work through this is because the moon and Neptune are in conjunction and it's the opening square. It's saying that you have to listen to your intuition. If you feel like you are burnt out and you're doing too much and you need to rest and retreat, you need to do that. If something is not clear, or if you're unsure about something, or if there is a sense of being like, this seems a little off, I don't really know, don't push it. Because that moon Neptune is saying that there is something going on almost in the ethers, or there is something that is off that we feel but we cannot see. We need to trust that. And there can be some sense of questioning or doubting faith. That's another way of kind of looking at this with the moon conjunct Neptune square the sun, because Sagittarius and Pisces, you know, they both deal with culture, travel, education, faith, religion. So we can see some friction between these things. What I will say is mutable signs, I think they do squares better than other signs because they're about change. So it's kind of saying, hold on, something's off here. Let me grab my glasses. This doesn't quite look right. And it's funny because it's right when Mercury is getting ready to retrograde back into Sagittarius. So it is going to represent some sense of being like, well, let me go back to what I used to believe in, or what I learned, or let me reference this, you know, book, or let me check in with this mentor or teacher. Let me, you know, look at this travel itinerary again. And so something might seem a little fishy, seem a little off. So then what we're going to see is the moon will then enter into Aries, very different vibe. So it'll sextile Pluto, enter into Aries. That's going to be in the early afternoon-ish, early evening. Moon ingress into Aries. So then we're looking at Mars. And something you're going to notice is on Tuesday night, communication's a little challenging because the moon is going to start coming into a square with Mercury. Okay, and so that kind of suggests with that moon in Aries that we're feeling fierce, independent, we're wanting to get stuff done, we're willing to do stuff by ourselves, maybe having an issue with authority, feeling like, you know, work or scheduling or responsibilities are kind of, you know, interfering with our ability to be independent and just be free. The positive is that now we're picking up energy of Mars. And so as the moon swings through Aries, it's going to be starting to come into a trine with some of this stuff. And that'll be, you know, obviously later in the evening on Tuesday, taking us into Wednesday, the 20th. And when we wake up in the morning, the moon is still in Aries. It's going to come into contact with Chiron. So you guys want to pay attention for opportunities to heal personal wounds, to be more mindful of physical healing. You know, Aries can be about head, face, eyes, issues with sinuses, migraines, you know, bumping heads, things like that. And that conjunction is going to trine Mars. So it makes me feel like on the 20th, there is a real need to like release energy. Like there's a need to get active. These fire trines, if they don't have an outlet to create, share, travel, dance, play, they get frustrated. And we're going to get into some tricky territory. I think probably as the moon is crossing and coming into a square with Pluto, where, you know, we're feeling a little agitated. So my recommendation is on the 20th, get active. You know, Aries is a sign ruled by Mars. It could be literally about doing something athletic, you know, going for a jog, walking your dog, going to the gym, but also being independent. Like Aries is about, you know, initiating and going and doing something on your own. So really paying attention on the 20th and taking time maybe to kind of reflect on, you know, what doesn't feel good? What's coming up for me that needs to heal? And not only that, but how can I heal it? What am I learning from this experience? Because the moon will trine Mars. And so Mars in the sign of Sagittarius is saying like, I'm going to go find the book, you know, to help me learn about healing this issue. I'm going to go and contact a teacher or a mentor, or I'm going to take a course or a workshop. It can be about travel. It can be about traveling on your own. It can also be about what you're learning about yourself and how you're working through things on a personal level, and it's changing the way that you see the world. But this is a really wonderful time to be, you know, practicing anything that is going to be motivating. Like, you know, I look at the moon and the North Node coming into contact trine Mars, and it's like, man, like a lot of people are going to really benefit by reading a self-help book or listening to like a motivational video or something on Wednesday evening. Now that moon's going to keep going through Aries. It looks like it's going to finally hit Chiron in the evening, pick up a trine to Mars overnight, touch on the North Node very early on the morning of the 21st. So this is Thursday. Okay, so a couple things going on here. So for starters, Thursday morning, we're going to experience Venus in opposition to Uranus. So make a note of Thursday, that Thursday is a day where there can definitely be some relationship friction, especially relationships, because Venus rules the South Node in Libra, so collective karma revolving around partnerships, marriage, clients, partners in general. And Venus is technically in its fall in Scorpio, so it's moving through a sign where it's intense, passionate, and a little bit more taboo. And it's at a 19, which is a Libra degree. So when Venus stands in opposition 180 degrees from Uranus, it's going to create this situation where there's going to be some sudden change in money, resources, values, personal preferences, which is going to upset Venus. Venus is the faster moving planet. So it's almost like Venus is trying to find more pleasure. She's trying to find a connection. She's trying to kind of get into like more peaceful territory. And she may not be pleased because Uranus is saying, well, I'm going to go and rearrange the furniture. And then you come home and then like get into an argument with somebody about it, you know, stuff like that. It's about physical changes, financial changes. So whether you're somebody who shares a bank account with someone, or maybe you're trying to deal with a return of some kind of some object or whatever, there can be some disruptions financially. Because Uranus, Uranus's dispositor is Venus, okay? And Venus is not pleased where she's at. So this makes me feel like there's going to be some kind of conflict between exchanges. We could see some real disruption in the financial markets or the crypto markets. We could also see that there is some kind of like wild or unexpected expense that pops up or charge that pops up. But yeah, it'll definitely impact or affect relationships, I guess is what I'm getting at. The positive, because there's a positive, is that the North Node and the Moon are in conjunction trine Mars. So it's like, okay, if I'm not pleased with how my partner is treating me, like I can't control them. I can control how I behave, how I react. I keep finding myself saying like, I want to be more about solutions rather than problems. And I feel like this North Node Moon trine Mars is being like, okay, this is an issue. Let's not focus on the issue. What are we going to do about it, right? Let's not argue, what happened, what went wrong, who's at fault, what are we going to do, what actions are we going to take? And not even so much we, because Venus is, in its fall. I think it's more like, this is what I feel like I can do to benefit the situation. and removing any expectation that somebody else is necessarily going to meet you halfway, not falling into the trauma drama trap of being like, well, I did this, why didn't you do that? No. Self-accountability, focus on the self while the moon is in Aries. And obviously we have 29, 29, and we will see the moon hit 29 also. So feels a little tense on Thursday, to be honest with you guys. And then we'll see that moon ingress. But right before it does, we're going to see the moon square. This is interesting. Thursday night, moon square Pluto at 29, moon trine the sun at 29. Wow. So there's a lot of 29s that are setting up. I feel like that intensity is going to relax a little bit in the evening when the moon enters into Taurus. And then the sun enters into Capricorn. So the 21st will be the winter solstice, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere. I know those of you guys in the Southern Hemisphere, you guys are enjoying summer. I hope it's amazing. Some of us out here are snowed in. But we're going to have this really beautiful, exalted moon in Taurus conjunct Jupiter, full of life, full of abundance, full of richness and comfort and security and resources, trining the sun. What an awesome solstice chart. What can I say about that? Well, I mean, when the sun and the moon are in harmony, things work, okay? And when we see earth trines, we see health improve, we see money improve, we see better resources, we see just physical changes and stability, especially because I think of Taurus as being personal finances, spending power, self-esteem, resources. And the second house has this sense of support, right? I mean, it does support the 10th house. So when we think of Taurus as almost like the solid structure, the frame of something that boosts up and it supports the growth of Capricorn and the career and the 10th house and the professional image, this is a really wonderful time. Those of you guys who do any ritual work on the solstices or equinoxes, to be like, I'm doing some financial abundance magic. I'm doing some health magic. I am setting intentions to, obviously reassess what my responsibility is. But I think this is also, what are my goals? And how are my goals revolving around responsibility, finance, health, abundance, food, resources changing? It's all these like Capricorn, Taurus things. Once again, I'm going to do a video on this, but I look at this and I go, this is an indication that over the next 3 months, for the next quarter, we are all rethinking something about our career or our long-term goals, all of us. And we are all always welcoming more abundance, more richness, regardless of where the moon is. But I encourage you guys to work with food, to work with money, to work with crystals, to work with plants, things that are earthly. I just got done moving, still kind of unpacking things, but it's interesting to see this because we're not anywhere near the Chinese New Year yet, but I just got done feng shuiing my house, and I learned a lot about it because I've never done that before, and was learning about next year and the fact that we're going to be having I think it's a wood dragon. I think it's a wood dragon next year. And I look at this and I'm like, how cool that this really reflects a lot of what 2024 is going to have. This will go hand in hand with that building process in February. So the Western astrology does kind of mirror what's going on with the feng shui, even though I don't even know anything about that. And that next year is going to provide a real boost for business and a real boost for stability and security. So, if you want to be focusing on manifesting health, money, or job, I recommend doing that. I think that even if you don't do anything during the solstice, you've got 3 months to kind of figure it out as this energy continues to unfold. And whenever I see a sun and moon trine, I get excited because I feel like finally we have things that are in flow. We'll see that moon come into conjunction with Jupiter. We'll all see the moon trine Mercury. So it's kind of like, how do I feel? And, what do I need to kind of reassess and rearrange as that moon comes into conjunction with Jupiter, which is going to be overnight on Thursday. There is some sense of abundance, security, luxury, growth. You might feel like you're indulging a little bit more on Thursday night. and, you know, really focusing on quality or something that's bringing you leisure or bringing you some sense of pleasure. At the same time, we're seeing this Mercury cazimi setting up going into the 22nd. So let's look at that here, right here. So this is when Mercury is retrograding, coming into conjunction with the Sun. This marks the halfway point through the Mercury retrograde. Yay! This basically means that if you don't know what Mercury retrograde was about, now you know. You're going to get that instant download. There's an awesome opportunity for reflection, tapping into your goals, becoming aware of something, the bigger picture kind of coming together. And you want to look for those little cosmic messages from Mercury. For some of you guys, it could be just like a bumper sticker, or, you know, you're seeing a number sequence that keeps popping up, or something that you were missing shows up, or whatever it is that you're working through. Look at what house it's in. That's when you're going to start to see the pictures come together. And what I like is, like I said, that the moon is in harmony with this. Now, sometimes with cazimis, we don't see this fully unfold for a couple of weeks. So this seated moment, about 3 to 6 weeks from now, you'll see something truly unfold. And I think this is about having a better idea of scheduling and planning. Me personally, I'm going to be using all of these transits this week to sit down and really plan 2024. So if you're wondering, you know, how I'm doing it, that's my goal, to get an idea of, you know, what my timelines are for certain courses or lectures or webinars I'm going to be doing, for obviously, you know, starting some new projects and getting some other things that are kind of up and running. Even if I'm not launching them yet, I'm going to get everything out and kind of do the outline of the groundwork. So that's what I would recommend doing. Honestly, you guys, even though we're in a retrograde, the transits this week are really wonderful for getting an idea, or at least a sketch or an outline of what next year is going to look like. Also, when I think of like the Mercury retrograde, you know, with the solstice, I mean, you know, the cazimi happening, ambition, direction, you know, goals being the main focus. And focusing on, you know, giving ourselves an opportunity to pause and reflect and think about getting on the right path. So if you want to reorganize something or start a new routine or focus on a new habit, or if you're trying to rearrange something, like, this is definitely the time to do that. Okay, so then we're going to see also, you know, in the midst, this has kind of been happening while Mercury's been retrograde, but Mercury has also been in a sextile to Saturn. So, you know, Saturn is the dispositor of both the Sun and Mercury. So the fact that it's been sextiling Saturn is saying the way forward, actually, to having, you know, a better functioning, you know, wherever Capricorn is, to have that house function better, we have to be looking at Saturn, okay? And then it's also sextiling it. And so Saturn in Pisces is kind of like, yeah, we need to make sure that the vibes are right. We need to make sure that everything is flowing. We need to make sure that we're doing our spiritual maintenance, our upkeep, our meditation, our rest, our recuperation. Yeah, it's just, it's a time to really tap in. And if we're tapping in, it has such a strong impact on our ability to get things done, to be more productive, to also make sure we're reaching our long-term goals. And very much, you know, Saturn and Neptune, you know, in the shadows, kind of in the invisible realms, are impacting the physical realms in a very strong way. So now is the time to really be kind of working with your spirit guides, your higher self, or your spiritual practice or routines. All right, so I want to read to you guys the Sabian symbol for this cazimi. So it's at 0 degrees, but technically it's 0 and change, so it's going to be happening at 1 degree of Capricorn. Let's see. And if you guys have this book, looks like it's page 305. Capricorn 1, an Indian chief demanding recognition. The theme is confrontation. The symbol speaks to the fact that most individuals tend to honor and respect established values, traditions, ranks, and stations of their families and communities. The image of an Indian chief demanding recognition depicts bold self-assertion, a claim of special privilege, and an instance that some position of authority be acknowledged. On practical level, the symbol reflects confrontation between parents and their children, managers, employees, and other situations where authority is challenged. At its highest, it represents dignity, strength, character, and effective leadership. Watch for authoritarianism and a strong arm tactic, or tend to fuss over trivial details. The accent is on self-assertion. You may feel the need to speak up or insist that your voice be heard on an important issue. Your greatest advantage lies in exercising your authority with dignity and letting the chips fall where they may. Be consistent and fair. Guard against being a grandstander or monopolizing on the conversation on topics that others have no interest in. Be willing to share the stage. Stepping stones would be, determination, inflexibility, standing on principle, authority, self-assertion, boldness, confrontation, or command. Obviously, during a Mercury retrograde, there can be room for there to be more misunderstandings and communication breakdown and issues. And, Capricorn is a sign that does have a sense of authority, right? It's a Saturn-based sign. When I think of this, I think of one of two things. I think of how the cazimi that's taking place is at 0 degrees, right? Technically 1 by Sabian Symbols, but, literally 0 degrees. And then we've got Pluto at 29 degrees. So there's this sense of going like, okay, there is definitely this crisis revolving around power and authority right now in our life and out in the world. We're starting to realize the real grip that certain leaders, governments, businesses, tech giants, whatever, have on the world. And then we see Mercury retrograde in conjunction to the sun, where we're reflecting on, wait a second, who has power? How did they get this much power? Does my voice need to be heard? How can I be heard? What do I need to say? How can I really state what I'm feeling and have a sense of authority? How can I assert myself more over this situation, which has potentially kind of like grown out of control? So self-assertion, needing to speak up, finding your voice. Is it finding your voice about what needs to change? Maybe, right? It is sextiling Saturn. There is a need to kind of tap into our feelings, and that our feelings play a role in how we communicate and what we share. I feel like even though this sounds like it's a negative sign, really it's about leadership and authority. And it's emphasizing the concept of leadership and authority. Because the chief represents someone who holds a position of power and influence over a group or a community. So the act of claiming power suggests that leadership is not passive, but requires acknowledgement and recognition. So to be a leader, you have to actually act, right? You have to do something. Capricorn is a cardinal sign. So, if we do nothing, then we're going to continue to see some situations kind of grow and become maybe like out of control or feel like it's a crisis. This also makes me feel like it's about collective recognition, because the phrase from the tribe implies that authority or power claimed by the chief is recognized by the collective. So the question is, whether this is you or just in general, are the little people recognizing this collective power? Are we choosing our leaders? Do we feel like we have a say in who's running things or who has a say in things? And so we're realizing that we need to speak up. We need to say something. If you don't like something right now in your life, in the Capricorn area of your chart, you need to say something. There needs to be a conversation. You need to send an email. You need to place a phone call, sit down, write a letter, reorganize, reassess something, and ask yourself, do you want it to have this much power over you? That's where you really want to work with that Pluto at 29. But I think that it's, like I said, the importance of, collective agreement and support in matters of leadership. The leader's legitimacy and effectiveness may stem from the acknowledgement and trust of the community. So if you're not trusting a system, if you're not trusting the foundation of something, if you're not trusting a leader in a team situation at work, there is a sense of needing to recognize and realize, well, why is that, right? And what can we do to change it? This is also about ceremony and ritual, because the idea of the chief claiming power also invokes a sense of ceremony and ritual. Leadership transitions and assertions of authority may involve symbolic acts or rituals that establish a connection between the leader and the group. And I think about that especially because, you know, Mercury can be about symbols, Mercury or Mars. I think about how there may be some indication out in the world with some of these transits that there is a change in leadership coming, or there is a change in power that's coming. And we might start hearing about where these world powers are shifting, where these business powers are shifting, where there might be shifts going on literally in your office or at work. That might be happening. And then responsibility, because the chief's claim to power implies a sense of responsibility. And that leadership is not just about wielding authority, but also about taking on responsibilities for the well-being and the direction of the group, right? Leading, being a leader, not a dictator. All right, so then let's take this to the 23rd. And this is going to be Saturday. And Mercury returns to Sagittarius. It's going to be first thing in the morning. You guys are going to wake up to these tall tales. Mercury's at 29. So this is where Mercury returns back to where it's been this last month. It's reassessing, reworking something. You know, while Mercury was in Capricorn, it was in a Saturn-based sign. So there was a sense of a different tone, more authority, more planning, more revolving around long-term goals. When it's in Sagittarius and it's in its fall, but it is a more positive sign. So it's a sign ruled by Jupiter. So we're looking at what's going on with Jupiter while Mercury is in Sagittarius. And we'll see at the end of the month, Jupiter is going to go direct. But Mercury at 29, once again, is a pivotal shift revolving around how we communicate, what we think, how we travel. We might see that we are backtracking now and reassessing something about the Sagittarius area of our life. We will also experience the moon coming into conjunction with Uranus in Taurus, which is going to feel like there is some shifts or changes or destabilizing maybe going on with us financially, physically, and it will oppose Venus. So this is yet another day where there can be lots of financial fluctuations and changes going on with money, changes going on with relationships, changes going on with personal values. I do feel like Venus being the dispositor of this is faintly familiar or may somehow be connected to what was happening earlier in the week when we saw Venus start coming into an opposition with Uranus. So let's see, when was that happening again? So when Venus was opposing Uranus on Thursday, the 21st. So 2 days prior. Right? So you're going to either feel that continuation or you're going to see something else kind of come up in regards to that. But when the moon's in opposition to Venus, we're yearning for something that we feel like we can't have, like just that itch we can't scratch, or like a sweet spot that we just can't quite get. We might be feeling like something is out of reach. And then we're also going to be seeing, the other way I could look at this is last minute shopping frenzy. You know, it's like people are like, I got to buy stuff. You know, I forgot to get so-and-so a Christmas gift, or, you know, I forgot to pick this up before the holiday, and, you know, paying more for something, right? And there being some kind of frenzy, but also relationship stress can arise. And then towards later in the day, that moon's going to come into a trine with Pluto. Right here. And then that's taking us to Sunday, and that's going to be the 24th. And so for those of you guys who celebrate Christmas Eve, we've got the moon in Gemini. So the moon's in Gemini, so a lot of people are going to be in transit, on the road, traveling, going places, feeling the crunch for time. Moon square Saturn, so it's kind of like, okay, you know, I'm running behind, I got to be somewhere, I've got this and that. The moon, when it's in Gemini, it's quite busy. You know, we're taking a lot of phone calls, texts, emails, we're scheduling meetings, we're going back and forth with people. And the moon's going to in conjunct or quincunx the sun, so it does feel a little disjointed. What else do we have going on? Mercury, we're looking at Mercury, and Mercury is obviously in Sag, and it's coming back into a square with Neptune. So there is some room for like miscommunication, misunderstandings. You'll see that more so the 25th, 26th, 27th as the moon, you know, continues to go through there. But watch for that moon square Saturn, feeling like a little bit limited on time, and also questioning, where are people? Why aren't they calling me back? You know, why haven't they gotten here yet? And then the sun in Capricorn will start sextiling Saturn. So there's this sense of feeling like It's okay, I'm prepared for it. You know, so-and-so forgot something, but I've got what we need. And when the sun sextiles Saturn, some of the actions that we're taking, or some of the goals that we're trying to complete, or what we're working on in Capricorn is, you know, supporting Saturn and vice versa. So it's nice to see the ruler of Capricorn in harmony, and some sense of stability that's kind of building. But just take your time, don't rush through things. You're going to see this towards the end of the weekend, and really kind of going into the end of December. As Mercury and Mars are coming into conjunction square Neptune, there is going to be a sense of losing steam, or losing momentum, or getting lost, or, you know, rushing through things and getting confused. So take your time, don't rush, especially while you're driving or traveling on the 24th, okay? So that's the week at a glance. I do want to show you guys the 12 signs real quick, and just show you all where Pluto is at 29 degrees. All right, so I'm a Western astrologer. That's what I practice. I'm going to be using the whole sign method for all of the 12 rising signs. I recommend listening to your rising sign and then your sun sign. We're going to be talking about Pluto being at 29 degrees and where it's wrapping something up and creating a little bit more pressure for you over the next month or so. Remember, you're going to be having, you know, Pluto at 29 in this house. You're going to be having the sun going through this house. There is a Mercury retrograde in this house pretty soon. We are also going to be having Mars enter into this house, and then we'll eventually have a new moon in this house. So perhaps maybe Pluto leading the pack is really kind of saying, hey, before this situation completes, or before this gets out of hand, or for us to really wrap this up, you know, we have to really bring our attention to that. So I think Mars coming into Capricorn pretty soon, that's exaltation, is going to be great for handling the situation. So don't fret, just know that it's going to be a month of increased pressure, okay? And obviously my Scorpios and my Capricorns, you guys are the ones that really want to pay attention, because it's going to be affecting you the most. All right, so for my Aries and my Aries rising, you guys are experiencing Pluto in Capricorn at 29 degrees in your 10th house. So this is essentially more or less, because Pluto represents change, transformation, other people's money and resources. There is some big change taking place in regards to your career, right? To your status out in the world. Maybe there's a big shift going on where there is change with management, or maybe you're retiring, or you're changing jobs, or you're going back to jobs, or, you know, something like that's happening. Maybe even with the retrograde, maybe some of you guys are deciding to change careers altogether. Regardless of what it is, you know, Pluto being at the top part of the chart does tell me that there can be some challenges revolving around relationships with bosses, some challenges with authority figures, yeah, not being too fond of maybe being told what to do. That's the other way I could look at it. But yeah, really embrace this shift, because I feel like, especially when Mars comes into Aries pretty soon, Mars comes into Capricorn in your 10th house pretty soon, because Mars rules your chart. What you're going to find is that whatever is ending for good reason, because something else is getting ready to kind of be built. And maybe it's like you, maybe you're getting a raise and somebody's stepping down and you're becoming the boss. That's very possible. Or you're working with a new team, because Pluto's going to go into Aquarius pretty soon. So for the most part, big changes on the career and status front. And I would say just embrace some of those changes that are taking place. Good luck. We've got Taurus and Taurus rising. You will be experiencing Pluto at 29 degrees in your natal 9th house. You know, especially if you're an early degree Taurus rising, you know, 0 to 2 degrees, really pay attention, because not only is Pluto getting ready to wrap up in your 9th house, but it's going to come into your 10th house. So that's going to embark basically on a whole new chapter in regards to a big change in your career. Maybe you're working with a group, maybe you're ending one job, maybe you're starting your own business. It depends. But Pluto deals with your relationships to other people. This can also be about your public status. You can be embarking in a period of time where there's going to be a lot of fame and recognition with your career. So with Pluto at 29 degrees, at the very least, it's in a fellow Earth sign, right? So if you're a late degree Taurus, you're really getting all the powerful support of a trine. So 27, 28, 29 degrees Taurus, you're getting that trine. Pluto in the ninth house makes me feel like there is a big change or a big shift revolving around the way that you look at your career. Your beliefs when it comes to, you know, your career, because it's showing the sign of Capricorn. Maybe it means that it's the ending of one belief system, the beginning of a new one. Maybe you're finally wrapping up, you know, going to school and getting a degree. Maybe you are finishing up like a legal situation. Maybe there's a big change with a relationship towards a teacher or a mentor. Regardless, this shift is basically throwing you into a new phase in regards to your career in this next year. Having Pluto go into an angular house is going to be quite loud because it's, you know, it's going to impact all of the four, you know, cardinal houses or the angular houses in your chart. And it's a time where you're stepping into this new, significant, powerful kind of role out in the world and in your career. And it may be coming off of the ending or the transition or somebody passing the torch to you, if that makes sense. Okay. Good luck, Taurus. We've got Gemini and Gemini rising. You will be experiencing Pluto at 29 degrees of Capricorn in your natal 8th house. This is about big changes and transformations taking place, endings and beginnings, joint resources. This can also be about psychological breakthroughs. This can be about breakthroughs in regards to debt. Obviously, Pluto represents your 6th house of daily routines, health, and habits. Pluto at 29 degrees in the 8th house makes me feel like you're working through probably some long-standing health issues. Maybe you're working through some long-standing blocks when it comes to relationships with your health practitioners or maybe with coworkers. There can be a sense of really connecting the dots to some of your either spending habits or your emotional habits and how that actually impacts your overall security. There can also be a sense of just finally purging and detoxing and clearing out, you know, things that aren't good for you. Behaviors, mannerisms, tendencies, what you're consuming, what you're eating, all that stuff. I will say that, you know, Pluto in Capricorn, if you're a late degree Gemini, it's kind of rubbing you the wrong way. But if you're an early degree Gemini, you know, this being on the brink of Aquarius is starting to come into a trine. So you might be easing out of what's been, you know, years of profound shifts revolving around these 8th house topics. But watch some of these changes, especially because I'm looking at, you know, Saturn being in your 10th house. I feel like this is about having some real breakthroughs revolving around money and like maybe how you're getting paid, or maybe you're seeing some kind of, you know, payment that's finally coming through for hard work that you've been doing. And so you're kind of getting out of what's been like a difficult or a challenging time financially. Good luck. We've got Cancer and Cancer rising. You've got Pluto at 29 degrees in your 7th house. This has been quite the ride for you, Cancer. I imagine that this month is quite colorful for you with all the planetary action in your opposite sign of relationships. Pluto is getting ready to leave Capricorn, so it is finally leaving your relationship sector. To me, it seems as if this is like finally burying the hatchet or finally clearing out an old relationship issue, or, you know, seeing the end of a relationship that's taken a really long time to kind of like wrap up. You know, Pluto represents your 5th house, so it can be also about your relationship to a child. It can talk about where, you know, your relationship with a younger person is impacting, you know, your marriage or a committed relationship. It can be a critical turning point for a relationship that you're having of any kind. So whether it's with a romantic partner, a client, a business partner, it feels critical and almost like you asking yourself, you know, is it time for me to let this go? If you're not committed, it can be about finally putting the past in the past with an ex or, you know, somebody who you've been kind of emotionally holding on to. That's possible as well. I feel like this is really, really good for you, because there's been some long-standing challenges revolving around your relationship to other people, and it's like now you get the opportunity to really release it and you know, let this thing go. So it depends on how it manifests for you, but I think that there's like a huge shift that's going to happen in the heart space with this, as you start to see that, you know, Pluto is making its way into your 8th house. which will start to in conjunct or quincunx you by sign. So you're going to be dealing with changes in a very different way these next, years. But for right now, it's about powerful buildup or breakdown within relationships. Good luck. For Leo and Leo rising, you are going to be experiencing Pluto at 29 degrees in your natal 6th house of Capricorn. And so this is significant for you, especially if you are 0 to 2 degrees of Leo, because you are starting to feel the opposition to your ascendant. For you, Leo, this is all about really making moves, making big changes and transformation to health, habits, schedule, and routine. Pluto rules your 4th house of home, family, and the past. And so Pluto in the 6th house can indicate that there is like a huge shifting, reorganizing, cutting out, clearing going on at home. You could be cleaning out all the cupboards, purging stuff, getting things out of your house. It could literally materialize as having some challenges with family members or relatives, having some tiffs with people in the office space. Some of you guys might be realizing it's time to change something about your schedule, something, about changing where or the location of your office. But I think that the 6th house connection to, what may be hidden issues within relationships is showing you where, some relationships are actually perhaps causing a little bit of, stress or blockages or health issues that could be happening here as well. And in the new year, when Pluto goes into Aquarius, it's a huge shift in regards to relationships. So some of you guys are downsizing and decluttering because you're moving. Some of you guys are moving in with somebody. Some of you guys are moving out, or you're dealing with family. But I would say here, Pluto really wants to make sure that your health, your habits, and your routine around your home and your office space are cleaned up so you can feel the most productive and the most capable when it comes to your relationship with other people, because this somehow needs to get kind of worked out before you go into the 7th house. Good luck, Leo. We've got Virgo and Virgo rising. You are experiencing Pluto at 29 degrees in Capricorn in your natal 5th house. If you're a late degree Virgo, then this is a trine, and you're enjoying that because it's a powerful kind of connection between the 5th house of creativity and love and children and the heart space and yourself. If you are an earlier degree Virgo rising, then you're starting to feel Pluto coming in conjunct or quincunx your ascendant. So this could be more relating to health. Pluto at 29 degrees in the 5th house, I feel like is about getting ready to finally, release heartbreak, moving into more powerful, more soulful, more meaningful connections and relationships. You've got a retrograde going on here. So I think there's a lot of asking yourself, what do I love? Who do I love? Do I love myself? How can I have more fun? How can I have more creativity? And how do I change the way that I look at my responsibility when it comes to, the 5th house, the heart space? Pluto rules the 3rd of communication. So I feel like there's a sense of communicating and sharing where you've been hurt before and letting it go. Having conversations, deep, powerful conversations about your childhood. Maybe it's going to be about, telling somebody how you feel or that you love them, having some kind of breakthrough and being able to be more self-expressive. I think that's really the key here with this for you, Virgo. So it's about really wearing your heart on your sleeve, not being afraid to tell people how you feel, and, really digging deep and finding the words to let other people know how much you care or how to better express yourself creatively. Good luck. For Libra and Libra rising, you have got Pluto at 29 degrees in your natal 4th house. This is all about your home and your family, your past. This is about your physical living space. Pluto is connected to your 2nd house of money, resources, and personal possessions. So for you, Libra, this is about, big changes on the home front. Some of you guys are dealing with deaths in the family. Some of you guys are dealing with changes and transformations of your home. You're selling houses, buying houses, moving into new apartments. And you got a retrograde here too. So there's some sense of reorganizing or dealing with the past in some capacity. I think about how Pluto's connection to the 2nd house talks about money and support and power stemming from the 4th house. So even if you're like, I'm not moving, I'm not buying anything, it can be about you bringing more personal possessions into the home and things that are going to actually bring more of a sense of yeah, things kind of working harmoniously together, I think, in your fourth house and giving you more physical support. But this can also mean that, you know, you're having to dig deep and really ask yourself what you value within the home and the family and what you want to hold on to and what you want to get rid of. And whether that's physical things, whether that's relationships, it depends. And continue, I would say, you know, for all the signs, but, you know, because this is an angular house for you, you are finally getting ready to graduate of having Pluto, you know, square your sun, moon, or rising at some point. It's getting ready to go into your fifth house. So if you're an early degree Libra rising, Pluto leaving the fourth house and that big change within the home or family is now going to start trining your ascendant, and it's bringing you closer to more creative abilities, more power when it comes to self-expression, better relationships, more love, opportunities for children, and lots of creative growth. Good luck, Libra. We've got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. Obviously, this is important for you, Scorpio, because Pluto is your modern day ruler. Essentially, you know, having Pluto at 29 degrees here for you represents a bit of like a intense and critical mind this month. So there is a sense of, you know, maybe feeling like your mind's on overdrive. You can be also have a little bit of a bite when you communicate. What I want you to really think about, Scorpio, with all these planets coming into your third house is, you know, how are you feeling when it comes to your communication style? What's going on with a sibling? What's going on with a move? You know, are you having to kind of really powerfully reassess something that you're learning? You know, is there a change going on with a vehicle? Really, you are Pluto. Okay, so Pluto being at 29 means that you are psychically kind of tapping into something and you're picking something up. And because the dispositor here is Saturn and Saturn's in the fifth, it's like you're getting really clear about how you want to express yourself, communicate, share, create something. So it's really powerful for you, Scorpio, to write everything down right now. Okay, write everything down. Get a notebook, start making notes. You don't need to start, you know, initiating things yet, but just be writing things out. You might feel like the things that you're writing are manifesting, or you're picking up stuff that's actually going to be happening in the future. When you get stressed out, you know, go for a drive, go for a walk, because the third house is movement. Go for a bike ride, go hiking, you know, get on an upward incline. That's going to help you move through some of this energy a little bit better. But I think that this is about a huge shift in the way that you communicate, the way that you think, or a relationship with siblings before Pluto goes into your fourth house, and it's a radical change or transformation to your home base. So it can mean that you're moving. It can mean that there's a huge change in the family. There could be, you know, a new home. There could be new family. There could be endings that are going on as well. And I think everything comes down to how you communicate. So if the crisis hits this month, then it's important to really think about how you're communicating with home and family, and learning how to kind of manage that the best way that you can, okay? Good luck, Scorpio. We've got Sag and Sag rising. You are experiencing Pluto at 29 degrees in the second house of money and personal resources, self-esteem, spending power. Pluto is the ruler of your 12th house, which is the deep subconscious. So I think, you know, Sagittarius with a retrograde here and Pluto changing signs soon, I think this is about working through issues of self-esteem, fears revolving around money and financial security. I think this is about really asking yourself what you value the most, what you really need, and what you can do without. It can represent, you know, like some powerful lessons revolving around money and resources. I personally feel like it's about you recognizing where if you're spending less, you're able to have more. And whether that's more happiness, maybe that means that you have more to put money into a home because Saturn's in your fourth house and it has that connection to Capricorn. So maybe you're kind of saying, okay, I want to get rid of some things. I want to, you know, have more like minimalism, or, you know, just saying I'm willing to make sacrifices if it means that I can have a better or a safer or a more pleasant kind of like living situation. Definitely financial matters can feel very critical right now. So watch out for like subconsciously spending more than you should or than what you need, because Pluto can be teaching you an important lesson about money, and whether or not you really need some of the things that you're spending money on. Good luck. We've got Capricorn and Capricorn rising. Pluto is at 29 degrees in your first house, my Capricorns. I would imagine you guys are like sitting there with your cup of coffee and the dark circles under your eyes, and you're just like, I'm just ready for it to be over. You know, your passport stamped to hell and back. It's almost done. That's the good news. So there is a sense of finally, you know, going through this trying period of the death and the rebirth. Like you guys are the honorary phoenix here. You know, Pluto does deal with your goals. It deals with your friends and your connections to other people. So I think Pluto leaving your sign and getting ready to go into Aquarius is about really embracing this whole transformation that you've been going through. Yes, there's still a retrograde in your sign. Yes, you're still going to see a new moon in your sign. So there is the sense of being like, what am I closing out so I can really embrace something new? Obviously, health and vitality is a big theme with a Mercury retrograde in your first house and also Pluto at this degree. So there is a need to really be mindful of where you're resisting change, where you're not wanting to let something go, where you're too obsessive, too fixated, too critical, maybe of yourself, not necessarily of the other people. There can also be this feeling of being really obsessed and fixated with, you know, what other people think about you or how other people see you. And I would say you have to let that go right now. You know, right now, if you need more time for rest and recuperation, take it, especially with the retrogrades in your 12th house. Still, even though you get a bit of a reprieve next year, you know, you're still in this process of working through things. And I feel like you're on the precipice of like a huge glow up, to be honest with you, now that you've gone through such a long period of time of having Pluto in your sign. Okay, but still take care of your health. Don't be overworking or overdoing it. Really focus on being present with this retrograde in your 12th house and getting some much needed rest. Good luck. We have Aquarius and Aquarius rising. You have Pluto in your 12th house. Just getting ready to peek into your first house. So if you are 0 to 2 degrees Aquarius, sun, moon, or rising, you're getting ready to feel pressure of Pluto. Well, it's in the 12th house. I think of this as like the cocoon before the butterfly emerges. So it can be about a rebirth period, a huge shift in regards to your status or your reputation or your career. It is about going through a really significant turning point and a big life change. What I will tell you is that it makes me feel like it's about embracing this, even if you don't know what the future holds. It can be about, you know, your relationship to power and your relationship with yourself and how people are seeing you and perceiving you and how that influences the way that you behave, the way that you dress. And I think that in your first house, it represents basically a new and improved you that's emerging. So Pluto and Aquarius can be about how you are embracing some kind of different way of dressing or something that's like more futuristic or something that's more unusual. But also you might just notice that your, you know, spidey senses are kind of picking up and you're starting to kind of pick up on things. Pluto, after all, can be about like X-ray vision. So I see a lot of people when they go through Pluto transits that they feel more connected to the other side, or they feel like they can kind of, you know, feel people out and read people's intentions better, or they just kind of have these weird psychic downloads, or they just know things. But intensity definitely comes through with Pluto transits, and there can be a tendency sometimes, if you're not accustomed to the energy, for it to be too intense. And, you know, on the ascendant now it's going to become more visible. Well, it was in the 12th house in recent years, it was private. So now it's going to kind of start emerging, and there's going to be this new version of you that's coming. So you've got some time to work with it. But I feel like right now there is this feeling of needing to, get ready to let everything go, or kind of close cycles before we're coming into your birthday season in the next month or two, where it's like a fresh start that's going to be taking place. And so I wonder what it is that's ending, but also beginning for you. And a lot of it's tied to your identity out in the world or your career. Good luck. We've got Pisces and Pisces rising. Pluto is at 29 degrees in the sign of Capricorn in your natal 11th house. This is all about powerful friends, groups, and connections. This can be a time where you are really starting to kind of tap into powerful networks, connecting with people who may be in other places. They might be connected to you know, culture or travel, or people who are abroad, or people who are into publishing or learning, you know, international business contacts that can be coming up here as well. But yeah, there is some kind of real pivotal situation or breakthrough situation that's taking place with your friends or your goals. Can it materialize as the ending of a relationship or a friendship? Maybe, maybe. I would see it more like leaving one group and going to another, or, you know, wrapping up your participation in, you know, a certain social group before kind of moving on to something else. Obviously, you know, Pluto deals a lot with not just law and travel, but it's your faith and your belief system. So you might be finding that you're wanting to connect with other people who share your similar perspectives and beliefs about the world. And maybe it's just about being able to kind of connect with these people. But this is also about tuning into your dreams and really feeling like you're able to make things happen. Being that Saturn is the dispositor of Pluto right now, and Saturn's on your ascendant, you're very committed to this idea of being seen as somebody who is, you know, a professional, or somebody who is responsible or mature, or somebody who's like really got it together, somebody who people can kind of come to for some kind of advice or for some kind of assistance. So it looks to me like you're wanting to be recognized by a group of people and being seen as such. So really focus on that and get ready for Pluto to go into your 12th house, where you're going to probably be really working hard behind the scenes and doing a lot of work in regards to your faith, your philosophy, and also more connection to culture and other places. Hopefully that was helpful for you guys and giving you some insight into what's going to be going on this week. Don't forget to give me a comment. Let me know, where is Pluto at 29 degrees for you? Is it conjunct a personal planet? Is it coming into contact with an angle? Obviously, we'll be talking a lot about this in the next couple of weeks in preparation for Pluto to change sides. So expect some more videos on this from me. I will be back here on Tuesday and Thursday. You guys can catch me here. I think we have horoscopes coming up pretty soon too, so we'll be doing that. And as a reminder, I'm going to be doing a live show on New Year's Day. So if you guys want to catch that, I have made tickets available on my website. It's $11.11 to join me for my live stream 2024 presentation for the astrology of next year. It's going to be really cool, several hours long. We're going to talk all about the biggest themes and how it's going to be impacting all of us collectively and the 12 signs. Check out my links in the description below if you would like to pick up tickets and be a part of the live screening. We're going to be doing that in advance before it hits my channel, so you guys will get to hang out in the chat and participate. Also, if you're looking for 2024 astrology calendars, I've got you covered. Check out beyondtheveiltarot.com. We've got lunar calendars, personal calendars, digital calendars, and printed calendars, all kinds of stuff. So if you're looking for a gift, consider that, or check out my gift certificates for readings. I'm now booking in March of 2024. All right, guys, that's it for me. I will see you all back here soon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I hope it's going well in the midst of all these transits and these retrogrades. Try to make the best of it, and I will see all of you guys here very soon. Take care.